Tonight, the new vaccine mandates as COVID surges in the U.S. California and New York City now requiring vaccinations or weekly testing for all their employees. The Department of Veterans Affairs now the first federal agency to issue a vaccine mandate. And the list of cities reimposing mask mandates growing as the Delta variant rapidly spreads among the unvaccinated. And tracking the tropical threat already impacting the games. The scorching heat dome over the U.S., massive wildfires in the west destroying homes. Over a month after the Surfside collapse, the final victim identified. Just hours away from the first hearing of the Capitol Riot Select Committee, the House GOP leaders' new attack on the two Republicans taking part. The major announcement from President Biden when the U.S. combat mission in Iraq will come to an end. Caught on camera, the fireball in the sky.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, reporting tonight from Tokyo.
We began back home with COVID-19 painting a grim picture of our future. More state and local authorities now imposing indoor mask requirements both for vaccinated and unvaccinated people. Some places going much farther. California and New York City telling their public workers either show proof of vaccination or face weekly COVID testing. This, as projections show, we could see additional deaths in the thousands per day if this surge is not arrested. We begin tonight with Miguel Almaguer.
Well before any fall surge, tonight some hospitals across the nation are already struggling to manage the 60,000 new daily COVID infections plaguing the U.S. As ICUs fill up, some models suggest our nation could see upwards of 4,000 deaths a day by October. The 100 million Americans who are unvaccinated driving the numbers and the risk, even for those who are inoculated.
If you allow the virus to freely circulate because so many people are unvaccinated, you give it yet again another opportunity to mutate even more, and you may wind up with creating a variant that in fact eludes the protection of the vaccine.
As new inoculations plateau, Pfizer and Moderna, at the FDA's urging, are expanding the size of their vaccine studies in children 5 to 11, amid rare reports of heart inflammation in younger Americans. A precautionary move, like the idea of bringing back masks indoors nationwide, said to be under active consideration. Today, St. Louis County joining Savannah, Georgia, in re-implementing the policy.
These numbers are too alarming to ignore.
As major medical organizations say vaccination should be mandatory for healthcare workers, today the Department of Veterans Affairs became the first federal agency to require vaccinations for medical staff.
Veteran Affairs is going to, in fact, require that all docs working in facilities are going to have to be vaccinated.
The state of California and New York City also announcing public employees will soon be required to show proof of vaccination or face weekly testing.
Individuals' choice not to get vaccinated is now impacting the rest of us.
With health officials confirming booster shots could be needed for Americans 65 and older, as well as those with compromised immune systems, tonight COVID cases are rising in every state, and so is the risk to all Americans, including the vaccinated.
Miguel, I know in Los Angeles, they're not just seeing a lot of cases, they're seeing a lot of very sick people.
Yeah, Lester, the Delta variant is now accounting for 21% of those who are hospitalized in L.A. County. They are in the ICU, in part because so many Americans are getting so sick. There's a growing push for employers to mandate vaccines. Lester?
All right, Miguel Almaguer, thank you. A worsening situation tonight in Alabama. That's the state with the lowest vaccination rate. Hospitalizations are surging, and the governor has been quite blunt about it all, blaming it on the unvaccinated. Gabe Gutierrez is there.
At the University of Alabama at Birmingham today, ICU nurse Barbara Thornton learned that one of her COVID patients in her 20s had just died.
It's really sad to see people so sick and to see their families suffer because they can't be with them in the hospital.
Did you think that there would be another wave of this?
I honestly didn't. I thought that we were on the other side of it.
And yet, hospitalizations in Alabama have soared more than 300% since July 1st. Just 34% of the state's population is fully vaccinated, the lowest rate in the country.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
Over the weekend, this hospital saw a sharp rise in COVID patients from 35 to 48, far less than it had seen back in January. But these patients are much younger.
I think there are a number of reasons that people are hesitant to get vaccinated here. There's a lot of mistrust of government mandates, of guidance that comes down from on high.
Here and across the South, that mistrust runs deep. Tennessee-based conservative radio host Phil Valentine didn't think he needed the vaccine, but now has changed course after getting COVID and ending up at the hospital in serious condition.
His not getting it influenced other people not to get it, and that is the regret of his life. Turn to the right a little bit.
Medevac pilot Ricky Ham did get vaccinated, but tested positive 3 days after getting the shot before it fully took effect. He'd spend 187 days at the hospital, and now has this message for those still skeptical.
Nobody wants to go through this, and a lot of people that went through this didn't come out. Is it worth not taking a shot? That, to me, is stupid.
Here in Birmingham, this hospital's lab says that all 31 of its most recent COVID samples have come back positive for the Delta variant. Lester?
Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. And make a plan for where to get vaccinated. Visit planyourvaccine.com for more. So let's take a closer look now at that tropical storm. It's packing winds of 45 miles per hour. Landfall expected north of Tokyo Tuesday night or early Wednesday, bringing up to 4 inches of rain. While in the U.S., dangerous heat extends from the Gulf Coast to the northwest. Some areas will see temperatures well over 100 degrees. In just 60 seconds, the thousands of homes threatened at this hour. The battle against wildfires is growing more intense tonight. Crews in California trying to contain fast-moving flames threatening thousands of homes. Just one of the large fires in a dozen states. Steve Patterson now with the latest.
Tonight, wildfire season in full force way too early. The harbinger, Northern California's Dixie fire, now torching an area the size of New York City, ripping apart more than a dozen homes and structures, threatening 10,000 more.
It's very stressful, scary at times.
More than 5,000 firefighters on the front lines, struggling to contain the flames after the rapidly expanding footprint merged with the nearby Fly Fire into an unpredictable mega blaze.
It's just almost beyond comprehension how fast these fires can move.
Crews across the West already stretched thin. Right now, 22,000 firefighters on the front lines of 85 major fires raging across 13 states. So far, more than 2.7 million acres have burned this year, outpacing this time in 2020, the worst year ever recorded, by nearly 1 million acres.
We still have to keep our head in the game because we still have the peak months ahead of us.
In Oregon, the massive bootleg fire, the nation's largest, is now burning more than 400,000 acres and only 53% contained.
It's so dry that a lot of this is just turning to dust.
The sparks of a climate in chaos, igniting fears of another unprecedented year of devastation. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
1 month after the Surfside disaster in Florida, the last victim of the condo collapse has been identified. 54-year-old Estelle Hadaye was the 98th person to be identified. Rescuers removed most of the debris from the site last week. An emotional day expected tomorrow at the U.S. Capitol, where a select committee will hear testimony from 4 police officers who fought rioters who attacked the Capitol in January. Garrett Hake is there for us. Garrett, what will we see tomorrow?
Lester, we will see committee members question these 4 police officers who battled with rioters here at the Capitol. They will hear about what those officers saw and what they felt, and in many cases about the injuries that those officers still carry. We'll see one new member on the committee tomorrow. Republican Adam Kinzinger was tapped by Speaker Pelosi over the weekend to join the 7 Democrats and 1 other Republican, Liz Cheney, on the panel. Today, the Republican leader, Kevin McCarthy, mocked those 2 Republicans for taking these invites from Speaker Pelosi, calling them Pelosi Republicans. But Cheney and Kinzinger dismissed the name-calling as childish and said they're ready to get to work. Lester?
All right, Garrett Hake, thank you. The U.S. will end its combat mission in Iraq by the end of the year. That announcement from President Biden today as he met with Iraq's prime minister. Richard Engel has more on this.
President Biden today with Iraq's prime minister announced the end of an era, that the combat mission in Iraq is over again.
Our shared fight against ISIS is critical for the stability of the region, and our counterterrorism cooperation will continue even as we shift to this new phase we're going to be talking about.
It's the second time the U.S. has ended combat in Iraq after President Bush invaded in 2003 to overthrow Saddam Hussein, claiming he was developing weapons of mass destruction and kicking off a civil war. It took nearly 8 years for the U.S. to declare the combat mission complete.
America's war in Iraq will be over.
Then Vice President Biden with President Obama welcoming back the last troops from Iraq. But with U.S. troops out, Iraq collapsed, becoming a safe haven for ISIS terrorists. So the U.S. went back in. Today, President Biden said that combat mission, Iraq 2, is over. But this time, a few thousand U.S. troops will stay in Iraq in a support capacity and conduct counter-terrorist operations as needed. It's a very different picture in Afghanistan, where President Biden is fulfilling a deal signed by former President Trump to pull out nearly all troops by the end of August. The Taliban are already making rapid advances.
Today's announcement on Iraq is largely symbolic and seems designed to help the country's prime minister in upcoming elections by making him look like a peacemaker. It's a far more cautious approach than the one in Afghanistan, which is deteriorating rapidly. Lester?
All right, Richard Engel tonight. Thanks. Also this evening, take a look at this video out of Texas. Hundreds reported seeing this fireball streaking across the night sky. Experts believe it may be part of the Perseid meteor shower that's expected to peak next month. That's nightly news for this Monday from Tokyo. Watch all the Olympic action tonight here on NBC. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.